Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear and On Point Pest Control. This week, we're talking about unleashing our potential, our performance potential. What I learned about mental performance by attending STOMP. Have you seen the production? I couldn't take my eyes off the stage. And I couldn't take my mind off the mentality of these amazing performers. We went on Wednesday to celebrate my son's birthday, and it was a gift to all of us, I can tell you right now. But as I sat there, I was amazed at these performers, not only at their athleticism and their rhythm and their talent, but in their presence, in their connection, in their communication, in their energy, in their connection to each other, connection to us. How in the world do these people for 90 minutes straight make music out of everyday things, hanging from harnesses, walking with 40-gallon trash cans hooked to these ski boot things as they walk across, make music with their hands, with their feet, with their hands and their feet at the same time, diving and humor involved? How do they stay so connected? And as I was thinking about it, I thought, gosh, our teams aren't like that. There's no time for a mistake in this production. How do they do it? How do they stay so in rhythm? And I understand there's music, and I understand that it's not like they are, waiting for a ball to come in, that they have to sort of decide where it's going to go. There are more moving variables sometimes in sport. But every stage is different. Every crowd is different. Every city is different. The heat, the lights, everything is always a little bit different, so they have to interact and adapt to their environment as well. But how can they be so connected and seemingly in constant sync? And we have such a hard time doing that sometimes as a team. Where does that come from? Well, there are a few factors I want to dive into. Number one, it starts with our mindset and their mindset. We know that positive emotion is one of the biggest predictors of peak performance. I don't always like to use the word positive anymore because people think, oh, I've got to be happy. I'm not talking about happy. I don't know if they're happy. It didn't seem to matter. They were making me happy. I know that. But if we're going to exchange maybe positive for productive, these people had constant productive behaviors that made the performance outstanding. I don't know if they liked each other. I don't know if they liked their part. I don't know if they liked the director. I don't know if they had a bad day that day. All I know is when I watched them, they were so just exuding positive emotion and productive energy. Their posture, their eyes, their constant connection with the people around them. They were positive or productive in every single little tiny move they made. It didn't matter if they liked each other. It didn't matter if they felt like crap. The show must go on, as they say. They had a job to do. One guy's the funny guy. One guy is the star of the show, if you will. But everybody had a specific move on a specific beat in a specific time, and they did it, and it made it magical. They were in sync and in a positive posture and created a positive environment. That's a choice. Again, we don't go out to entertain. We don't go out necessarily, well, some of us, I guess, go out to entertain, but I don't know that athletes think about that. But they had a job to do regardless of how they felt, and we have a job to do regardless of how we feel. And they seem to approach their performance with purpose and passion, channeling that energy into every single thing that they did. And we can do the same thing. We can approach our jobs regardless of how we feel and whether we like our teammates and whether we like our coach or whether we like our role. We can do the same thing. Is it because we're not in this mindset that we have to make this magical experience? What is it that separates what they do and their ability to be positive and productive regardless of the fact that they've got to be in pain at some point? Sometimes they do 2 shows a day. I have no idea how. Why is it so different that they can be so in sync? And sometimes it's so hard for us to be in sync. Just a question I kept thinking about, but they screamed positivity. Oh, no doubt, it all starts at the top, but it also takes practice, and I can only imagine the amount of practice that these people must do. It starts at the top, and I'm sure they've heard take it from the top a bazillion times, because they've got to repeat and repeat and repeat every little movement until it is so precise that it fits in this constant wave of rhythm and motion and movement and beats, to make music out of nothing except everything that's their environment, what's around them. It takes precision. And I am certain that just going to rehearsal, that's the minimum. They're doing if they just go to rehearsal, they are not going to stay on tour, guaranteed. They've got to feel this, they've got to live it, they've got to breathe it. I guarantee you that they're thinking about this in their sleep. They are walking around their house making music. How do I know? Because the next morning I was like making music I'm making a peanut butter and jelly, packing a lunch, and all of a sudden everything turns into a musical instrument. I don't do this on a professional basis, obviously, but I can only imagine what they're doing. They're rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing, physically, mentally, and they're feeling. They know what every single movement feels like. And it's the preparation that is the separation. They prepare and prepare and prepare so that they can get up there and feel positive and give positive emotion, because they know what step comes next and they don't even have to think about it. And that leads us to think about, oh my gosh, how do they trust each other? Well, they're positive, they've practiced, they know what's coming. Our trust sometimes starts with us. And I talk to kids all the time, and I feel like that is the one thing that the culture of sport is missing, is trust. We think we work so hard, but yet we don't trust ourselves, because we really know how hard we work. And we don't trust our teammates because other people are telling stories, or we're telling stories, or we're hearing stories about them, or we don't think they work as hard. But it's that in sync trust that I really think that we're missing when it comes to teams. What does that trust do for us? One misstep in this whole thing, and it's boom, over. Or someone is physically hurt. Same thing for us, but we're so disconnected at times that we can sort of forego those things. There is no time for them to stop and think about what the person next to them doing. There is no time for them to stop and think about what they have to do. Show must go on. They've got to keep moving. They drill their routines. They rehearse their routines. They live their routines. And then they trust their routines. And everyone around them is doing it. These are exceptional people. And of course, they're at the top of their game. But if we want to get to the top of our game, we can't just go to practice. We can't just go to rehearsal. That's not enough. That's the minimum. What else are we doing so that we can trust our training and trust those around us so that we can work in sync? But all I can think of as I'm watching this still is, how do they know what everybody else is thinking? Or does it matter? But they're constantly communicating. They're communicating with their eyes, they're communicating with their bodies, they're communicating with their rhythm, they're communicating with their movements, and they have to keep their eyes up. There is no choice. If they get into their own head and they stop communicating, it's going to be a disaster. They have to be constantly externally focused. And the only way that we can be that, as I mentioned last week when I talked about musicians learning their music, and then they can look around and take in the variables from the outside. They can communicate and adjust because they trust each other, because they've practiced, because everyone is in a positive mindset where they're willing, regardless of how they feel, to keep their eyes up and out. And then they can respond to what's going on around them. So if someone does make a misstep, nobody notices because I've got you, because I'm not worried about me. I mean, these are human beings. They're trying to make sure that their reputation and their career excel. One guy's the star of the show. One guy's the funny guy. Everybody may not be thrilled about their role exactly, but it doesn't seem to matter because they are willing to keep their eyes up and communicate in subtle and productive ways. It's amazing. It's amazing that that communication piece is so important. And then lastly, the last lesson, I think maybe most important when watching this production, is their ability to be present. There is no time for them to worry about what might happen, about what somebody else is thinking. If they get into a woulda, shoulda mindset, the show has passed them by. As Sonny and Cher said so many years ago, the beat goes on. There is no gap. We talk about when we mess up and the frustration we feel. How long does it take us to get back on track? Depending on who you talk to, it could be 2 days or 2 minutes or 2 seconds. But for these performers, it is a seamless stream of presence. If they went somewhere else, I don't know where they went. Now, granted, they come on and off stage, so they are able to take a break. We have those breaks. We have timeouts. We have in between pitches. We get to walk to different holes. We have timeouts too. But when they are out there, they are present. And being present is the only place that we can perform, and we know that. And in order to be truly present, our brain and our body have to be together. And they are a great example of what that can do. There is no time for selfish thinking. There is no time for ruminating. There is no time for worry. There is only time to trust their training, to trust each other, to communicate, to stay connected, and to exude this positive energy. It's amazing, quite honestly. But how can we take these lessons? Because we know our mindset matters. We know we need to communicate. We know that trust is essential for peak performance. And we also know that we need to be present. It'd be really interesting if everyone could show STOMP to their team and say, what do you notice about this group? Look at their expressions. Do you think they feel great? And everybody would probably say no. And yet, do you know that? No, they look awesome. How do you think they got this good? Do you think they only went to rehearsal and then this is what came of it? No. What do you think they had to do to get this precise and this connected? How do they know where everybody's going to be? What do they do if somebody makes a quick mistake? Oh, they're communicating. Well, how are they doing that? They're not using words, so how are they doing that? How can you do that on the field? How do they get all this together without hurting each other? How do they know that their person's going to be where they need to be when they're fighting with their sticks and slamming their trash can lids together? They trust each other. How do you get to that trust? And then finally, where do you think their minds are on every step? Well, they're present, of course. What does that do for their performance? These are great questions to ask our teams. Maybe it's not STOMP that you show them. Maybe it's something else. But this is a great example because it's so athletic. Check it out. Let me know what you think. If you have any other thoughts on how we can use STOMP or any other production to help make us better performers in general, I would love to hear them. But this is an amazing performance. And these lessons are incredible. And they need to be talked about if we're going to reach our peak. Again, all I could think about was how can we get our teams to perform like that? Because if we can, the sky is the limit. So, check out STOMP. I hope when it comes to your town, or check it out. I'm sure you can find it on Netflix or Hulu or something like that. And let me know what you think about it. And then you can tell me, are they athletes? Are they musicians? Are they dancers? Because I think they're a mix of that. One thing I do know is they're amazing. And I think you'll think they're amazing too. Until next week, have a great week. If you have any questions or would like to discuss this, shoot me an email, juliej@ssbperformance.com, and I'll see you on Monday.